So let's talk about what happened yesterday with Vladimir Putin and his personal sock puppet, the convicted felon Donald Trump. And we don't really need to discuss the substance of what was supposedly agreed to. And we don't really need to talk about what is reported to having been said during the conversation, because none of that matters. The entire point of yesterday, the phone call, before the phone call, after the phone call, all of it, the entire purpose was for Vladimir Putin to deliver a message to the world. That's the entire point of everything that happened yesterday. And the message that he was sending to the world is that I'm in charge. Donald Trump is in charge of nothing. I am calling the shots. That was the message that Putin was sending to the world. Now, to put all of that happened yesterday into context, we should review where we've been the last couple of weeks, beginning with that disgusting display in the Oval Office, where the convicted felon berated President Zelensky. Now, that whole thing was an obvious setup. It was obvious from the jump. And it was all orchestrated by Putin. Putin wanted that to happen. That's why it happened. And it was so clearly a setup because, just the fact that J.D. Vance spoke to Zelensky is proof that the thing was all planned. Because that was a meeting between two heads of state. Okay, Zelensky is a president. Donald Trump, president. So we have two heads of state. Now, normally, vice presidents aren't even present for those meetings. It's usually just the two heads of state in the Oval Office and the cameras before the cameras are kicked out and they have their meeting. That's usually how it works. But in this case, the vice president was there. Now, when vice presidents are there at a meeting between two heads of state, they don't say anything. They exchange, they do the little formal pleasantries, and then they sit there and they shut the hell up and let the two heads of state talk. The very fact that J.D. Vance inserted himself into this discussion is proof that that was a setup. On top of the fact that you had a whole bunch of other people there. You had Marco Rubio sitting there like the tool that he is, and you had a whole bunch of other Trump sycophants in the room. The reason for all of that was to give the appearance that these people were ganging up on Zelensky. That Zelensky was there being rude, out of line, and all of these people were just shocked at Zelensky's horrible behavior, and this was a power move to gang up on him. So, but it was clearly a setup, and so all of that was done because that's what Putin wanted. And so, that meeting, Trump attacks Zelensky and accuses him of not wanting peace, and then kicks him out of the White House. Cancels the rest of their meeting and kicks him out. And says, don't come back until you apologize to me and you're ready to discuss peace. Because you obviously don't want peace right now. And so that's where he ended it. And then several days later, Trump's people offer up this ceasefire deal. They bring it to Zelensky. Zelensky, the guy who supposedly doesn't want peace, immediately agrees. He will do the ceasefire. He will agree to it. So they take it to Putin, Trump's good buddy Putin. Trump thinks, oh man, because Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He's got it in his head that he's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And he's licking his chops thinking he's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize for this. So he's got Zelensky on board. He goes to Putin. Oh, Putin loves me. He's going to agree to this. Putin rejects it out of hand. Nyet. I'm not going for that. Does Trump then attack Putin and accuse him of not wanting peace? Of course not. The staff doesn't talk to the boss that way, so of course he wasn't going to do that. So next we have this phone call that happened yesterday. And this was supposed to be where Trump and Putin come up with a ceasefire deal to bring an end to the war. And that Donald Trump is making this happen because he's the big tough guy. And he is going to get Putin to make a deal because, Putin and he have a great relationship. So what happens there? Well, before the meeting even starts, Putin puts Trump in his place. He was over an hour late for the phone call. So Trump is sitting there like a fool. And Trump routinely does this to other people. No one ever does it to Trump except his boss, Putin. So Putin made it very clear to the world, I don't get summoned by the President of the United States. The President of the United States waits for me because I'm the boss. I am in charge. That's the whole reason for making Donald Trump wait like that. Over an hour. And while Trump is sitting there on the phone, waiting there like a fool, Putin is meeting with like a trade union somewhere, laughing about the fact that Trump is on the phone waiting for him. Just humiliating this buffoon. So then he takes the phone call. And during the call, they apparently, Putin rejects just a flat ceasefire. But apparently he will agree to an immediate ceasefire against, energy infrastructure. So after that phone call, Trump says, he puts out a Truth Social post. Had a great conversation. Vladimir Putin has agreed to a 30-day, energy ceasefire where he will not attack any civilian energy infrastructure. And what happens after that? Putin immediately bombs a Ukrainian power plant. To make the point, screw you, Donald Trump. You don't go out there and tell the world what I agree to. I tell you what I agree to. And even if I agree to it, I don't have to hold to it. Because I'm in charge and I do what I want and you're going to bend over and take it. And you're going to do what I say because I own you, which he does. And so that was the purpose of yesterday. Vladimir Putin is not going to agree to conclude this war on any terms favorable to Ukraine, fair to Ukraine. He's not going to agree to any kind of ceasefire. If he does agree to any kind of a ceasefire, it will only be a war tactic. He will agree to a ceasefire, if he does, only as part of a strategy to continue his war against Ukraine. He is not going to stop until he has all of Ukraine. So there should be no ceasefire agreements. There should be no more attempted agreements between Trump and Putin because Putin is not negotiating in good faith. It's just tactical. He will not stop waging this war against Ukraine until he has Ukraine. And Donald Trump is his useful idiot. He is his sock puppet. Putin is his boss. And this is not just, saying this flippantly to make fun of Donald Trump. It is very obvious to the world. Everyone understands this. Everybody got that message yesterday, by the way. The only people who maybe did not get the message that Putin was sending are Donald Trump himself and the morons in his cult who watch Fox News and think that Donald Trump, what they think about him. Those are the only people in the world stupid enough not to understand what happened yesterday. And so Putin really does control Trump. We can speculate as to why that is, why he has this control over Trump. But I am convinced, personally, I believe that he has something or many things on Donald Trump for leverage. And it's got to be pretty bad because Donald Trump has endured a lot of bad things that we know about him. But it has got to be so bad that Putin can completely control Donald Trump because he does. And if that's not the reason, it's some other reason. But the fact of the matter is, Putin is very clearly in charge of that relationship. Trump does what he says. And yesterday was about Putin telling the world in no uncertain terms, make no mistake, Donald Trump is not calling the shots, I am. Trump does what I say that he will do. And he will do nothing else but what I tell him to do. And I do not have to abide by any agreement that this orange buffoon that I completely control says we have. I do what I want. That's what yesterday was about. What needs to happen now, in my personal opinion, is that Europe and Ukraine need to understand very clearly that there can be no working with Donald Trump. I mean, how do you work with a man who is controlled by your enemy? I mean, it makes no sense. Please, for the love of God, our friends in Europe and Ukraine, please move on from any idea that you can negotiate in good faith with Donald Trump. You cannot. And Donald Trump has no power over Vladimir Putin. I know that's what the hope is. Well, we need Donald Trump on board because only Donald Trump can exert any influence over Putin. Bullshit. That's what yesterday was about. That's Putin saying Trump has no influence over me. So please, move on from this line of thinking. It's not going to end well if you continue to pursue peace through Donald Trump. That is not the way to go about this. Ukraine needs to be defended, period. And sadly, the United States is not going to defend. Here, by the way, is what Putin said, the only thing that he will agree to. Complete cessation of foreign military assistance and the provision of intelligence information to Ukraine. That is a condition for any permanent peace deal. So says Vladimir Putin. No more foreign aid of any kind to Ukraine and no intelligence assistance of any kind for Ukraine by any foreign countries. He wants Ukraine completely cut off from any assistance from the United States and from Europe. That is a necessary precondition for any ceasefire agreement, so says Putin. Okay? You can't agree to that. And you're not going to get anything through Donald Trump. So please stop this. You guys, unfortunately, are on your own. Ukraine, Europe, you're on your own. Understand this. Accept this. Don't waste any more time thinking that you can get a deal with Putin through Trump. It cannot happen. You're not working through Trump. Trump is a puppet. Trump is not an independent player in this. He is controlled by Putin. Putin is using Trump to play you. Using his sock puppet, Donald Trump, is just another war strategy. It's just another tactic. This is all about winning the war for Putin. This is all about taking over Ukraine. All of Ukraine. So, I hope that our friends in Ukraine and Europe have gotten that message and do not waste any more time thinking that you can work through Donald Trump. You cannot. Donald Trump is not on your side. He simply is not. So, anyway, that's what yesterday was about, in my humble opinion. So, thanks for watching.